Welcome to another episode of Conversations with the Fly Aunt. I am your host, Ebony Ivory, your residential fly aunt, and we have our fly guest in the house. Introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah, you have me, Winifred Opare. I'm happy to be here. Mom of three, married, and a realtor out here in Georgia.
All around dope person. We are so glad that Winnie could join us for another episode. So today's episode, we are going to discuss a little bit about African culture and dowry and marriage. And then we're going to discuss a little bit about being married. So let's get into it. Our residential Nigeria and Ghana princess is in the building, Winifred Opare. So let's just jump right into it, Winifred. You've been married how many years?
Well, since 2012, been with the same man since 2004. So, yeah, we've been together this year. It's like 20 years. Been married for probably 12
it's
years.
Been married since over a decade of marriage under their belt. Who needs math right now?
Right.
So we're going to get into when how does it work in the African culture when you're getting married? Tell us about it.
Okay. So, first of all, thank you for having me here. I'm always happy to be here. And I love to share the African perspective of things.
Yes.
We'll try to stay out of trouble this time. So
please check that episode too. Debunking African stereotypes. It's a really, really good episode. You guys showed up and showed out. Please go back into the playlist and find that episode. Okay, go ahead, Winnie.
Okay, so it's pretty different compared to American culture when it comes to marrying. Like in Africa, the man has to go to the woman's house, when I say house, like the family, and we say something like ask their hand in marriage. And so we have different tribes, and in most tribes, the family will put together a list. For the man, first of all, they have to accept that they want that man to marry the daughter, and they ask their daughter, "Are you okay? This man wants to marry you. Do you want to?" And then in Ashanti culture, I'm Ashanti. There's something called knocking. So the man does the knocking. He brings a few of his family together, visit the woman's family. They have some drinks and they discuss, I want to marry your daughter, blah, 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 and all of that fun stuff. And now the wife's, or not wife yet, the woman's family has to put together a list for the man to put together for the ceremony. So this list includes, clothing, it includes jewelry, it includes an amount of money. The woman's brother, which in Ashanti language we call it akonta, like brother-in-law, right?
Okay.
They call something akonta second. That means the man, the would-be husband, has to pay a certain amount of money to the brother-in-law. Okay, That's all part of the list. Okay.
Okay, so he has a list. There's a list that's compromised, right?
Right.
So, and then the brother, he gets to select what he wants for his sister as well.
No, the brother doesn't get to select nothing. The brother gets paid when a man is coming over to marry his sister. Yes.
Okay.
And, to make it a little fun, like, let me tell you some of the stuff that can be on the list. Like my list.
Yes.
My list had, a full goat. It had cows in it. Like Michael was supposed to buy all those stuff. You're buying cow, you're buying like food, everything, jewelry, clothing, shoes. You're buying clothing for the woman's mother, your mother-in-law. So all these beautiful stuff gets put together, and then on the day of the ceremony, it's handed over to the woman's family. And trust me, sometimes some families basically try to sell out their daughters. That's what I think, because some families come up with some crazy ass lists that these men cannot afford, So some women are sitting home right now with no marriage because their family decided to make a crazy ass list.
Ah, okay, because that was gonna be my question. Like, have you heard of things like getting to what's the most outrageous thing you probably have heard of? And that's also called, is that also called a dowry?
It's called a dowry.
Okay.
The dowry is really like the amount of money, and that's where the confusion comes in, because some families can say pay us $10,000 or $5,000. This is independent of whatever you're going to spend on the wedding. So back home, the woman is not spending nothing on the wedding. I mean, I don't know about now, but unlike here, it's like everybody chips in. Back home, it's the man's responsibility to handle the ceremony, do everything. So
I love that. Okay, so again, that's another difference within the culture. Like in Africa, it is expected that the man is going to cover the cost of the wedding completely. And that brings me to another, right or wrong, you shouldn't be if you don't have no money, you can't get married in Africa, basically, right? For the most part.
It shouldn't be like that. I mean, I feel like everybody should be able to be with the love of their lives. And yes, I know families pour into their babies, and so they expect to make something out of it. But you have to also understand that this man is going to marry your daughter. They're going to have kids. And like we said on the other, show, on the other episode, most African men are providers, and they're going to provide anyways. So is it better keeping your daughter at home because you decided to charge the man that she loves a whole lot of money? Or is it better that you're reasonable, they marry your daughter, goes into this man's home and they start building their life?
I agree. I wish I could charge a bride price for my daughter. I am sure I would get top dollar. Don't you agree,
Oh, you
Sanaya?
will get that.
Okay, so that's great. I'm glad you let us know a little bit about that. So tell us, what was your family's impression of Michael when he came and presented himself and wanted your hand in marriage?
Well, Michael was not a stranger. We had already been together forever.
Right.
So it was really a smooth sail. I would say I did scratch off some stuff off the list myself, because I already knew the man. So,
That's true.
I'm not going to let you collect all these things. And, at the end of the day.
How do you feel like when you're actually able to like compile a list together and knowing that you could get these things on this list?
Trust me, it felt good. Like some of the stuff, like the juries and stuff like that, it looked good. It was nice. But then I said, this is my man. I've been together with him for a while, and I know he could get me any jewelry over a period of time. It doesn't have to be right now, because one, he's going to pay for whatever we're doing, and that takes money as well. So I would say I was very reasonable. Some females, they're not. They want to collect every single thing on that list. But each their own.
And I think too, also like they should, like for the most part, they know if the person that they're, having this marriage proposal can obtain the things that they want as well too.
That's
right?
true.
Do you think so?
Well, they don't care though. Like they want what they want.
Oh, okay. Some of them just want what they want. Okay. I mean, that's a Western thing too. Sometimes we just want what we want, not the most level-headed and reasonable thing sometimes. I mean, just being honest. But okay, so that's what's up. So we talked a little bit about the marriage proposal and dowry. Tell us a little bit about your wedding day.
Well, I really didn't have a white wedding. I initially coming back home, because I had my engagement, because the engagement back home, I had it back home. And then I really wanted a white wedding. Like you could not tell me nothing.
Question, what is the engagement called?
Oh, wait. Look, so we say, oh, yeah, dear.
Okay.
So that's the engagement. So over here, engagement is just like the man proposing, right? That's an engagement.
Right.
Like us, an engagement is a ceremony.
Okay. Yes.
Tell
us about it.
So It was cultural. I wish I had the pictures. I think I have some pictures on my phone. I'll show you. I dressed like an Ashanti queen. I really wanted a very small, close knit ceremony. So it was just a few family members and a few friends of mine. We did it in one of my aunt's home. And it was beautiful. We had the gifts come in, all the stuff on the list come in. They had Michael and I. We had a pastor in there, so they'll call me and ask me, hey, this in front of everybody. This gentleman came and said he wants to marry you. Is he the one that you like? And I say, yes. Do you want to marry him? And I'll be like, yes, I do. Imagine if somebody said no, though.
Well, that happened on Love Is Blind. On Netflix,
oh my gosh,
all day,
no.
AD and Clay. Yes, he
Lord.
waited till she got to the aisle, pumping her up.
God.
Okay, body, you
That
looking
is
good
crazy.
in the wedding dress, and then told her he ain't want to marry her.
Yeah, so we did that, and then that's sad, but yeah, I did say yes, by the way, and we did that. We danced, we ate. I mean, it's a whole big ceremony and party, and then that was done. We exchanged rings.
Okay, so you do exchange rings.
Yes, we do exchange rings.
So before you have that engagement, you've collected all the things on your dowry already?
No, all the things are brought on the engagement day, on the day of the ceremony.
Okay.
So brother-in-law is paid on the day of the ceremony in front of everybody. Mother-in-law gets her cloth, it's usually it's an African print cloth, whatever. Okay. She gets it on that day. I get all my stuff on that day. People carry in nicely and graciously, and then the pastor prays and we exchange rings. So it's a full ceremony. I personally think that should be enough for us, for Africans, because that's our tradition, right? Okay. If you're a Christian, you have a pastor come in, pray, that's enough. I honestly don't think you should go ahead and do a white wedding. Like now, at my age, looking back, I feel like it's just, I don't want to say waste of money, but I think it's a waste of money because you had a whole ceremony. You had your friends, close people coming. I'm speaking for Africans, by the way. Right. You do that. Right. And then you have to go to the church again and do a white wedding, right, which is the same thing.
So let me ask you a question. So if once you do that, you're considered married, but is there any legal paperwork or anything like that? Or tell us a little bit about that.
So if I was back home and I wasn't going to come here to America, then we would go to the courthouse back home and sign. Okay. Right? Which is what I did. When I came here, we signed here. Okay. At the court. Okay. But back home, you do this engagement, you go to the courthouse and sign the document that legalizes the marriage. And to me, again, that should be enough. I feel like people spend so much on weddings, not even knowing what they're getting into. The idea of a wedding blindsides people without thinking of what they're going into, because this is just not, I'm going to let you talk, but this is, there are people who take loans to get married and then 2 years later they break up. Now they have to pay up the loan.
Wow. Well, that is something that definitely does occur. So let's get into this. So you're married, you come over, but there is another question, because you mentioned that should be enough. You should only be spiritually married. You're spiritually married in Africa, and you traditionally, excuse me, and then you're married doing paperwork in in America. Okay, so they uphold our legal kind of like marriage here. Yes. They would uphold it over there as well. Okay, good to know. So let's get into this. So has there ever been a time maybe that you have heard of, like, say, it's the day of the engagement in in Africa, in the cultural, and there's things that are missing? Have you heard of anybody like stopping the engagement until the stuff?
I've been in the middle of one. Like, so one of my cousins got married, and we all went. It was nice. We went to support. So both of them are here. right, in the
Okay.
United States, but we were back home going to do it in place of them. So that can be done too.
Okay.
They may not be present, but the families get together and kind of does the ceremony. And
Oh, okay. So you kind of were like the proxy, so
right,
to speak, standing in
right,
for them.
right,
Okay, okay.
right, like a power of attorney, sort of something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, and so we had the list. We had the list of things we brought. The lady's family was like, okay, we said we wanted this. We don't see it in here. Whatever, whatever. We took our daughter to school and all of that stuff, and so we got to get it. So now the guy's family, us, we have to kind of find a way to put money together and pay because they weren't ready to move to the next step if those things weren't paid.
Wow. Okay. Well, they were standing on business.
They were.
They were standing on business.
They
And, so,
were.
and y'all and you guys as a family came together, found a way, and made
And we
it.
made the payment.
Wow.
But when you do something like that, to me, it's just a little bit of, I don't know, I feel it's embarrassing to your daughter. Like, come on now. It's all love here,
Right. I get that. Like, they're in love. Like, just let them be in love and make it happen. And plus, y'all were standing in for them, so they were
Right.
already somewhere else
Right,
living their
enjoying
life.
their life.
Yeah, living their lives
So,
already.
yeah.
Okay. So now that we kind of discussed like the marriage part, let's talk about. I do have this question. This is a burning little question I have.
Ooh.
Okay, so in American culture, like like we talked about a bit, like some of us can come into situations and we have children at an earlier age prior to being married. Are there cases where, like, would a guy ask for someone's hand in marriage that already has kids?
So I would say many years back, well, I'm not that old, but like, let's say 10 years ago, that would be a big issue. Like, even now, there's a lot of stigma around that when it comes to African men, especially if they're single, no kids, going in for a woman that has kids. Granted, the guy might like it. He doesn't have any issues with it.
Right.
But the family members, they're going to hate on this lady forever. So that's a stigma.
Okay, there's a
That's
stigma.
a stigma back home when it comes to, ladies that already have kids, especially if the guy doesn't have any kids.
Well, what if she's like a widow? Would that be taken into account? Or
that could actually be worse because,
Really?
there's a stigma to that too because, people will be like, oh, you don't know what happened to the husband. She might have a bad aura or something like that, But there's always an exception. There are open-minded young men out there who really wouldn't care and wouldn't mind that, somebody has a child or is a widow or whatnot. But for the most part, it's going to be very hard or challenging for that person to find another husband, unfortunately.
Wow, that's great insight. Okay, that's really eye-opening. So, even if you're a widow, that could be presumed even worse. What is like the stereotype in regards to like, having children out of wedlock when it comes to like the African culture? Like, how is that viewed?
So basically, we all grow up in households that were all groomed, let me use that word, to think that the best way is for you to be married whilst you live with your mom and dad, right? And so, first of all, if you're a young lady who probably, due to circumstances, moved out of your parents' house at an early age and probably went to rent a place and you live alone or whatever, there's a stigma, right? Okay, why is this young girl living by herself out there? If you're a young lady that goes ahead, gets pregnant, and I'm so happy that you asked me this question. Okay. You go out there, get pregnant, things happen, teenagers do stuff and stuff like that. And then there's a stigma, you're a bad girl, you whatever. And so the other girl that doesn't have any child,
Right.
that's living with your parents, she could be the baddest. I don't know how to say baddest here is used in good context.
Right.
Like
Right,
she
right.
could be the worst person
Right,
ever.
right.
But because she doesn't have no children and she lives with her mom and dad, she's presumed to be the good girl. And she might get married before you, the other one that probably by accident got pregnant or whatnot and whatnot.
What is it, we kind of went over a little bit about the culture shocks that you had
Right.
about when you came to America. One of them was that you noticed that, women here, including myself, have our children at a younger age. So like I gave birth to my first child at 20 years old. So let's talk about a little bit about that culture shock for you. And, what do you think are some of the, it could be the disadvantages, in regards to being a mom so early. I mean, I could probably speak to it, but what do you think, since you have your children later in life, what are the advantages you kind of feel like, are having when you come? Well, let's just start with that. Just coming over here, noticing that women are having kids earlier. What's your thoughts?
So I always say that, and I always tell you that I wish I had my kids a little earlier, like at 25 at least. I think it gives you more independence. It gives your children more independence. It gives you room to build self. I think waiting too long, and children are blessings from God, so to each their own. I'm not knocking anybody that decides to wait till they're 50 to have children, but this is just personally, I actually feel like if you believe that you're in the right mental capacity to handle a child, I believe the correct age is 25. Coming to America, I'm actually impressed that you could see someone and they'll say, that's my daughter. And you'll be like, isn't that your sister? Like you and your daughter. Y'all look like sisters,
Yeah.
At this point, you and your daughter, it looks so beautiful. But I know it wasn't easy in the beginning.
Right.
And the only thing I can say is I feel like if you have, over here in America, there's so many opportunities as far as education and stuff like that people can tap into, try to get your education, try to get yourself situated. And you could do that by 24,
Yes.
And then go ahead and have kids. But I see young girls like 17, 18, and I know that sometimes it's not your choice.
Right.
It just happens.
Right. Yes.
But I know girls too out here that actually deliberately, on purpose, got pregnant at a very young age because the other woman that's dating their boyfriend got pregnant. So she also wants to get pregnant, just to keep the man. And to me, that is wrong.
Right.
But I think if you're able to go to school, at least get an associate's degree, at least if you can.
Right.
And then if you want to have your child at 22, 23, 24, 25, that's perfect. But if you you go in and have a child without knowing the ABCs of childbearing or what comes with handling a child and all the responsibilities, then you're putting yourself and that child in a very, very uncompromising position.
That's very true. I agree with the majority of what it is that you're saying. I think we can kind of take a lesson, and I think we have over the years because you don't run into as many teen moms as like we used to back in my day when So I think people are definitely pushing that sentiment that waiting is better, definitely waiting is the better option. We're definitely not trying to push the narrative that, having kids at a young age. And like you said, when you're mentally ready, you feel like you're mentally ready to handle it. You have some life experience, you have some education, and you have some stability under your belt, then sure, go for it. Yeah, I do agree with that sentiment. So another thing that we discussed on the African stereotypes episode is the tolerating of cheating.
Okay, we're going back there.
We gonna go way back there. we just gonna get into just a little bit. So we want to clear up some things because some people felt like you definitely would tolerate cheating.
No.
So let's
No.
clear up some of the stuff that you meant. Some people may feel like you were a little easy on the males in regards to that perspective of cheating. So let's just get it in because you mentioned, like, a man is going to be a man and men are not the only ones that cheat. So let's talk about let's go just a little bit deeper because we only scratched the surface. Just what it is that you mean when you say, because some people may say, if you're saying that you're slower to leave a cheating situation, that you are tolerating a cheating situation. So, and you mentioned, like if it just happened and it just one time, then of course you're not leaving. So do you have anything a little further input you want to put in on that?
Well, first of all, I need to tell the lovely people of America and the lovely viewers of the Fly Aunts that I do not tolerate cheating at all. And I haven't caught my husband cheating yet because he's a man. It can happen. I'm not going to say my husband is an angel, but I haven't caught him cheating yet. However, if I ever caught him cheating, I would take a lot of things into consideration because we have 3 lovely boys. I come from a broken home and I'm still battling, or should I say, putting out fires till this day because I have so many half siblings. Okay.
Right.
And that does something to you because one, there's always going to be division. There's always going to be a lot of issues. So like I said, I'll take a lot of things into consideration before upping and leaving. I'm not saying stay if a man keeps cheating on you and disrespecting you and doing, like, everybody and the mama around you knows that your husband cheats. They know who your husband's sleeping with. I'm not saying stay with that. You shouldn't. Right. But even if somebody chose to stay with that, that is their choice.
That's their choice. That's
their choice. But I'm just saying that things do happen, and part of growth is always taking a step back, like you said, to analyze things, which I'm working on that. Analyze things and make sure that your decision in the longer run is not going to hurt people that you love, like your children. I am not saying stay in a cheating, disrespectful relationship, but there are some almost perfect relationships that get ruined. Sometimes the men come back begging for their lives. I've seen a situation where somebody cheated, and begged to stay, because the woman was leaving,
right.
Begged to stay. He stayed and he changed for the better.
Okay.
He actually changed for the better. So that's always that option, right? So just be slow to leave. Take into account how good the person is, all the good sides they have, and don't just rush. I know there's a lot of people on social media telling you to leave. If a man does that, you do not need to stay. I've seen those videos. Girl, don't let them lie to you. Because they're over there staying with the cheating man.
That's
I'm
true.
telling you.
That is
because you're going to leave and you're going to be alone by yourself, struggling. So,
So this is another follow-up question do I have. Sometimes I feel as though that it's left on the woman to keep the family together for some reason. Okay. Like if the man cheats, right? It's like he dumps this in our lap and it's up to us whether we stay or whether we go. And I find oftentimes I feel like that we're left holding the bag to keep the unit and keep the family together. What do you think about that?
Well, yes, that's true. That's very true. However, if you ever call your man cheating and you decide to stay, even if it's one time, if he's the angel Michael God sent down from heaven and he cheats one time, you got to let him work his way back, okay?
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Make an unattainable list for him and let him work for it. Don't get satisfied until he's gone down that list and done every single thing on that list for you. And if at the end of that list you're not satisfied, make another list. Let him know that when he cheats, there's gonna be consequences, and you're not backing down.
Hey, we standing on business over here.
You like that, don't you?
I like that one. I like that one. Make a list. No, because I feel as though too, and I've been, this has happened to me before too. I feel as though too, like, we're left holding, thinking all of that through, keeping the family unit together. What's this going to do to the children? What's this going to do to the finances? How are we supposed to push forward? And, we have to hold that bag of forgiveness, all the emotional stuff I feel like that we go through while, we got to make them pay a little more.
Yes, and that's not going to take the pain away. That's not going to bring the trust right back, but it's a work in progress. And I believe that if there's love and there's deep love, because it's the people you love that are going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Your enemies are already hurting you, so they're your enemies.
Right.
It's the people you love that are going to hurt you, so it's not going to be easy kind of working through it. But again, marriage is hard work. I'm not talking about the boyfriends. The boyfriends cheat on you, leave them. But if you're married to a man for so and so years, you have kids, he's been doing everything right, and one day there's a slip up because Cece over there showed him something. You have to be gracious and have patience and work through it and know that, okay, it's the people that I love that are going to hurt me. I have to have a forgiving heart, but at the same time, you're going to have to let them know what hurt you so that it doesn't happen again.
Okay. What do you think about people or individuals, they get cheated on and they get their lick back? So basically, long story short, somebody, they cheated on their significant other, and their significant other, instead of forgive, they chose to cheat back too. What is your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, well, that's a hard one.
Okay, we got to ponder on that one.
That's a hard one. Well, I'm gonna lead by being the responsible married woman that I am, and say that two wrongs do not make a right.
Okay.
But here's another aspect of things. Okay.
Okay.
You're with this man. He's good. You love him. He got the goods, and you don't want to leave. But he keep on cheating. He cannot help himself.
Right.
And so you also find a way to numb your pain because you're like, I'm not leaving. This man is never going to change. I'm going to stay with him. You're going to have to find something to numb your pain. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not going to knock any woman out there that chooses to do that. If this man decides that he sees the worth in his woman, and he sees that this woman deserves me sitting put and staying tight and watching her and appreciating her for who she is, that you could drop the act and, you also get your stuff together and come back to him. But if he wants to keep on cheating, disrespecting you, but again, that's just going to be a toxic situation anyway. Who wants to do that? There are plenty
of people that do. And if you do, I want you to reach out to me so we can talk about it, okay? You let me know how you handle that situation.
It's going to be toxic. As much as for me, I'm not going to knock anybody in that situation because some men just cannot help themselves.
Right.
And so some women just be like, okay, I'm also going to find a little something on the side. I'm not going to knock you, girl. But it's going to be toxic. And you're going to, like, what's the point? You go sleep over there. He goes to sleep over there. Y'all come together to sleep together. I respect sex. It's spiritual for me. Like, what are you doing? But if that's what floats your boat,
right,
then we're not going to judge. We don't judge out here,
And the final question that we're going to wrap up, you mentioned when you first came to America, you went to Jersey City, and you took account of how Black women look specifically, and we didn't look the happiest. Right. We looked upset.
Right.
Tell us what you come to understand after coming to America and seeing what you saw.
Okay. So I'm going to try to go through this as fast as I can.
Yeah.
And make all my points clear. So back home, nobody teaches us about racism. Nobody teaches us about the torture and everything. We experience colonialism back home. And I don't remember ever being taught in history, my history lessons, that, a certain amount of people were taken out of Africa and they were put through a lot of pain and torture and work for free and all of that. I never, and I'm ashamed to say that I never really paid attention to it. I may have seen it in movies, but I never really paid attention to it.
Okay.
So when I came here and I saw the anger or how a lot of Black women were upset. I didn't understand until I started living the life of a Black woman, because when you're Black, there's nobody can tell, oh, she's from Ghana and she's American.
Right.
You're all treated the same way.
Right.
And so I started experiencing subtle racism in my face, and I can say it's been a struggle keeping up my smile when I'm out there, because why should I smile at you when I know what you're doing to me? You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, I take that back. I think Black women are the most strongest ever people on the planet, and I respect and I bow all the Black women that live in America.
All right. Well, what a way to close the episode.
Yeah.
We learned some new stuff. We learned about marriage. We learned about dowry. We learned about making a list if you got to hold that man accountable. We cleared up some things from the previous episode. I just want to thank Winnie for coming on and sharing and being vulnerable and honest, of course, about her experiences. Please don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to The Fly on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. We're going to close out the episode. Winifred, let the people know where they can find you.
Yes, like I always say, Winifred Opare on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube.
All right. Well, that's the close of the episode. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Until the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.